here's the thing. Okay, before we get started with this interview, I need you to take this in consideration. So again, this is just a mock interview, and the purpose of this interview is for you to know what for you to know what's lacking with your responses. That way, when you have your interview, okay, you are able to already fix the answers that you've missed this time. So we want to correct as much errors as possible because that's the purpose of this mock interview, for you to know what you need to what the employers are actually looking for. Okay? Now, let's start with okay. Let's start with Manvima. Okay, let me pull up the questions and let me just put you on the spotlight. Let me see. Spotlight for everyone. And then let me pull mine. Okay. Add spotlight. Okay, there you go. So both of us are already on the spotlight. Now, again, for those who just came, so this mock interview's purpose is for you to know what you're lacking in your responses. So, whatever corrections that I'm going to give you, don't take it personally, but rather I need you to use that correction, okay, to better your responses. Because again, okay, it's difficult to get a job interview, and if you don't try your very best on the interview itself, if you lack in your responses, then that chance is gone. And let me tell you, it took me 100+ applications before I got my first interview. But the good thing is, before that interview, I prepared. I did. You're lucky because somebody is doing it for you right now, and you're able to hear like what are the actual errors that you're making. But in my case, I just did draw lots. I wrote the question down, put it in a jar, grabbed it, read it to myself in front of a mirror, and that's it. Okay. All right. So, Manvima, just a little bit of orientation for everybody. So the interviewers might ask you a couple of questions, like or maybe like 3 questions or more. The more questions you're asked, the better, because that means they're interested at you. Now, here's one thing that you have to remember. Um, you have to make sure that you're hitting the points that the interviewer is asking you. Okay? Do not use Philippine setting all the time when you're in your responses. It's very important that before the interview you research how the US classroom setting is like, and think, how do you use those strategies in a US teaching classroom in your own classroom, and tailor your responses using that. Okay, now let's get started, Manvima. You ready? Okay. All right. Okay. Interviewer face on. Let's start. Good morning, Manvima. How are you?
I'm fine, Miss Michelle. Thank you. Good
That's great to
morning.
hear. That's great to hear. What time is it in the Philippines now?
It's 4 a.m. here in the Philippines.
Oh, wow, that's too early. Okay, so in here in Las Vegas, it's 1 p.m. Now, let's get started with our interview. Can you please tell me about yourself?
Mm, Thank you for this opportunity, Miss Michelle. I am Temerisa Palma, an English teacher here in the Philippines with a deep passion for both language and learner growth. I've spent the past few years refining my skills not only in teaching grammar and literature, but also um, creating in creating an environment which is um, encouraging voice, empathy, and critical thinking.
Mm,
I believe English is a powerful tool. It helps students to express themselves, to connect, to connect with others, and to succeed in a globalized world.
mm, thank
Um,
Go ahead.
One mission I carry closely is to equip students with the will, with the skill, uh, with the knowledge to prosper in a globalized world that is shaped by automation or technology, and constant learning. One of the most meaningful moments in my teaching journey was having a quiet student of mine who stood up and shared her speech she memorized. And that reminded me that teaching is about more than content. Um, that is about um, connection, confidence, and um, creating a space for students to you know um, discover their potential.
Hmm.
And as an educator, I value high standards, but I also value collaboration, kindness, and um, constant learning. So I'm looking for a school that shares those values, and I'm excited to the possibility that I could contribute something to a learning community that empowers both um, teachers and students to grow.
Hmm. Wow, that was a great story. It's a good thing to hear that you were able to engage one of the quietest students in your class. Now, that is one of the struggles that you will face here in the United States. Because most students here like to just sit on the side, and especially big kids like high school or middle school, they like to do that. Unlike when elementary, where they're more engaged, in high school and middle school, you really have to push them harder for them to really participate. So it's a good thing that you share that. Now, I need you to describe to me how you use the I do, we do, you do model in your lessons.
Mm. I do, we do, you do is something that makes learning more engaging and productive for us teachers. And so in my classroom, um, I do such thing um, using a text like in my English class. I I do some reading. I do some reading, like having the text, which is all about the speech of Martin Luther King. It is I Have a Dream. I read that for them because that is communication class. I mean, it is all about oral communication. So I let them read that speech. We read. We we try to. I mean, I do some reading first, and I let them. Um, we let them. I let them read that speech. Then um, after that, um, I would ask each one of them to do the individual reading. But then before that, before the I do, we do, you do teaching strategy, I usually test first their I mean reading levels, like considering their sound awareness and phonics, and then their reading levels or fluency, plus their reading comprehension. And so that technique made the reading lesson more engaging and productive.
All right. I love that you mentioned the differentiation that you're doing, specifically looking into the different levels. But I needed to elaborate more on differentiating your learners. So, how do you differentiate instruction for students with varying levels? I do know that you did mention that you identify them, but in order to incorporate that in your classroom, like how do you provide lessons to students with different levels?
In my classroom, initially I make surveys or initial assessments just to test their levels. I mean, their learning styles, their learning interests. So um, after the analysis, I mean, after analyzing their abilities and styles, I mean, their interests, that's the time I would be giving differentiation, like mm, like small groupings, um, having such thing like small flexible grouping, flexible and small groupings. I again I would give them um, a task um, that is shared within small groups. So mm, so each small group, I mean each group would be asked to read a text. One group, which is I consider an average group. The other group would be considered, I mean, the poor readers, and then the other group would be considered as advanced readers. So for advanced readers, I usually give them the original text of a certain a certain um, article, and then I would include some thought provoking questions for them to answer. And then for the average readers, I would just let them give. I mean, I would just give them the original ones and then try to read. And then for the poor ones, I mean, poor reader group, I would give them a the original text plus a simple or a translated um, copy of the text. And so after such things being delivered to them, being given to them, I would then I would then ask them to share what they have understood in the text that they have read. And after such activity, I would then be assessing each of their tasks, and then I would give feedbacks. I will never forget. Um, uh, I don't miss giving them feedbacks for improvements,
Mm.
and that made a difference.
Wow. Okay, that's great because we actually do that here in the United States. So what happens is we group the kids. So we call that power hour. And the kids are grouped according to their levels, just like how you do it. And it's a good thing that you have a background on that. Now, let me ask you about technology. So how do you incorporate or integrate technology into your teaching?
I integrate technology in my classroom by initially um, checking whether each of my students is having the right and relevant material. Like, do they have their own cellular phones, or do they have their own computer or laptops? And then, of course, Wi-Fi connection. And then afterwards, I give them clear instructions, so they could do some activities related to technology productively. And so with the use of technology in my class, uh, the making of the making of resume is one of the topics that I already um, tried to to teach. So um, I have before that, before considering using technology, I I first research and choose the best um, technology app to use before showing them the steps on how to make a resume with the use of um, an app like the Canva.
Mm.
So the Canva, honestly, I it's not, here in the Philippines. I mean, in my classroom, my students are not yet used to that. So I myself would teach them how to to search on that or to download that app, and then and then I would show them in our smart TV the different steps on how to find the templates, to find I mean to choose the best resume template so they could follow some the steps there. And then I would do scaffolding. I would let them start the making of the resume using the Canva app, and then I would go and stay closer with them to each one of them to guide. And so at the end of the day, they were able to start something like a draft of their resume using the that technology Canva.
Mm. That's great. Okay, now, so how do you deal with a student who is disruptive or defiant in your classroom?
Okay. Um, you know, addressing such disruptive behaviors is really not easy for a teacher like me, because it wouldn't make the learning environment conducive or productive. And so initially, um, again, I would um, create or make rules and consequences with them. I set clear expectations every day, and then I would let them read and understand each rule, each consequence, each expectation with the language, with a clear language they understand. So before proceeding to a lesson, and then having such encounter on that disruptive behavior, um, I always stay calm and positive. I don't, I don't react negatively at that moment, because I know it only escalates the situation. And so, whenever disruptive behaviors or disruptive students are in my class, I usually go near him and then tap the shoulder, or just look at him straight to his or her eye. And I remember one of my students had my had my discipline, like I called him after my class, talking to him, knowing the emotions he had during those times or during that class time meeting. And so I also asked him some questions just to bring out why he did that thing. And then um, that time he was able to share his emotions, his problems with his family. And so I judge the behavior, not his, being that person. And so I was able to provide some encouraging words, some solutions to his problems. And the next day, he acted in a good one. But then after 2 weeks, he then again showed me another disruptive behavior. So again, I tried to talk to him a longer time after class, until such time that um, I called her mother. And then, I mean, calling his mother is not, you know, it's also good for me on our sides, on both sides, because um, the mother was able to share his behavior at home. Yes. And then we talked together. His mother and I talked together and planned something like giving him some extra resources at home for him to be able to do some readings, some some um, activities, just to to just improve his academic performance, and that made a bit difference. So um, actually, he improved in his behavior in class.
That's great to hear. All right, thank you, Miss Vima. So my secretary will call you in 3 days to tell you the result of the interview. Okay, now let's pause for a little bit. Okay, and then I will give feedback. Okay, drink water, okay, breathe in, breathe out. Okay, so that's how an interview look like. Now today I'm going to give you a feedback for Miss Vima. Okay, I need you to take note of this. So I can tell that you are an experienced teacher. That's one. That's plus one. But here's the thing, okay? If we do the interview, it's very important that you have really good lighting. You have really good lighting, your camera is centered to your face, okay? You're not wearing any earphones or something like that. It has to be like camera audio, okay? And yeah. So you hit a lot of points, especially with differentiation. That's what the US, that's what, how to say, they're looking for. They're looking to see if you know how differentiated instruction works in the US. Because unlike in the Philippines, where we group them according to their interest, okay, or according to their preference, in the US, we group them based on results, based on their assessment results, okay? Now, in differentiated instruction, so for example, in the assessment, we have like pre-test or we have diagnostics 1, 2, and 3. Now, based on the diagnostics will generate, okay, their least mastered skills. Kind of like when we do what do you call that? Frequency of errors. Yeah. So that skill with the most frequency of error, okay, is the targeted skill, okay, for the learners. And when you group the learners based on that, so there will be learners. Let's say, for example, your target lesson for that day is central idea. Okay. So there will be learners that have mastered that. There will be learners that are in between, and there are learners that are still progressing. So it's very good that you pointed that out, that you use data to inform your instruction. Okay, because that's what we do here in the US. But here's the problem. While you were talking to the interviewer, you were looking around. Okay. Now, it is very important that you look straight to the camera, because one thing that they will think is that you just read your responses somewhere and not really, it did not really come from your experience in the classroom. It has to come from authenticity. Okay. But I can tell that you are, because I'm a Filipino, I can tell that. I can tell that you are an experienced teacher. I can tell that you studied well about the US education system. I can tell that you've watched a lot of videos about how classroom management works here. Did you? Did you research on that?
Like,
I can tell that.
always,
Yeah. So the only thing that you lack is looking straight into the eye of the interviewer. Okay? Because your responses were on point. Another thing that you have to work on is the tone of your voice. The tone of your voice sets your, or how do you say, with the tone of your voice, the interviewers will know the kind of personality that you have. In the US, we want to be as animated as we can, especially for high school teachers and middle school teachers, because one, we have to build relationship with students. Now, the power of your voice is very important because if your tone is kind of like sleepy, or you're kind of like, um how do you say, like you're kind of like sleepy or kind of like disinterested or not interested, so they will think, oh, she's not suitable for the classroom because though she has the experience, she's really good at giving us responses, she knows how the classroom works, but the kids will not listen to her. Yeah, because they're looking for a teacher who the students will listen and who knows what the US classroom is like. They're looking to see, or to they're looking for teachers who they will not need to train a lot. Because mind you, here in the US, they will only train you once or twice and that's it. They will expect you to know they will expect you to know what they taught you. So it is an advantage if you already know the US setting. Okay, so for now, if I'm gonna give a verdict, okay, if you did your eye contact with me, if you had a good lighting, okay, and if you how do you say, cameras, all those feedback that I told you, camera has to be centered to you. What else? Your tone of voice, I would hire you, but for now, I would say you should be on the wait list. Okay, that's the thing
Thank you,
that you
Miss
have to work on.
Michelle.
I hope that helps. Is there anything that
Yes, thank you.
is there anything that you like to say or you like to add? How was it?
Um, may I ask a question, Miss
Yes.
Michelle? What are the qualities of a teacher you admire most?
Well, I do admire a teacher who really, how to say, who really cares about children. Because here in the United States, it's you cannot survive unless you love the children. Because these children, they're, how do you say, they come from broken families, most of them. When I came in here in my first year, I thought that it was kind of sad because a bunch of my kids came from broken families. Their parents split up, and I was like, oh, poor kid. But it was normal to them. It was normal to them. Pretty much 3/4 of the population in my classroom, okay, came from broken families. They have stepsisters, they have half brothers and half sisters. They live in different households every single day. And so most likely they don't have the time they don't have like a specific time to spend with a parent who actually cares, because both parents have a life to live and they have their own children to take care of, especially in the current household that they're in. So
Mhm.
I would say that the most admirable teachers are the ones that really care about children, about the children, especially if you're coming here in the US. It really takes, how do you say, love for the kids, because if you don't, you will not survive here. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Miss Michelle.
All right. So I'm sorry for my voice. Medyo paos pa. I told you I had cough since Wednesday, but I'm like, I can't postpone this no more. Okay,
Mhm.
so we're moving on to the next interviewer. Thank you, Miss Vima. So later on, I
Thank you
will let
very
you ask
much.
questions. I will interview four more. I think, yeah, we still have time. Okay, so let's see who goes next. Let's see. Can I have Miss Russell? Okay, let me take you out of the spotlight. I hope the feedback was well taken. Okay, and thank you. You really, what I admire the most about the way you responded is it was very genuine. Very genuine. It really came from your experience. And I can tell that you really looked into the US classroom setting. Okay, so I'll remove you from the spotlight for now, and
Yes.
I will put who is it? Okay. So for those who just came again, speak in I'd rather speak in Visaya than Tagalog because my Tagalog is super Bisaya. It's not good. It's horrible. So, okay, so let me see. Let me put who is it? Okay. Sorry guys, I'm still okay. Where's Mom Russell? I can't see Mom Russell. I can't see her. Okay. Oh, where is she at? Okay, Russell. What's your last name, Mom? Russell Baricante? Hmm. I can't see her. Are you able to see?
It's Rolando po.
Okay, I can't see her. Okay, Russell Baricante. I can't see her. Are you in here, ma'am? Or maybe let's just proceed with Miss Abby for now. Miss Abby. Okay, let me see. Is she in here? Eh, there. Oh, okay. So your Facebook name is Russell Baricante. Okay, so and your name here on Zoom is Russell Volante. Oh, there it is. There you are. There you are. Okay. Add to spotlight. Okay. Hi, ma'am.
Hello, good
Hi.
morning.
Good morning. Okay, so again, let me reiterate what I said earlier. This mock interview is to help you, to help guide you on what you need to add, what you're missing, and to see how you can improve the way you respond. Because again, you only get okay, you will not get as many chances when it comes to getting an interview invite. It's hard. So with mine, it took me 100 plus interview just to get an interview invite. And okay, once I got that, so I tried my best and I got it right away in my very first try. So it's very important that you prepare ahead. I know that there's been what do you call that? The J1 pause. But let me tell you a story. It happened in during my time. I came here in the US on December 2020, and we got stuck in Manila around November 2020 because they wouldn't issue our visa because of the same problem with it was the pandemic and and then there were a lot of J1 interns who didn't have insurance, whose visa expired but still stayed, and by then they were asking for help from the Philippine government and from the U.S. government to move them back to the Philippines. Now they didn't have insurance, so the U.S. government decided, oh, they're not going to issue our visa anymore. But then I called the Office of American Affairs and I was like, well, we need to go because we have been hired since February. It's just that we can't get the US embassy interview 3 months prior to our departure. So yeah, and they did have a meeting after I talked to them. And then that's when they were like, oh, so let's have a conversation with the what do you call that? What do you call the office that issue? Oh, CFO. Okay, and that's when we had a meeting and they said that we could leave those who were hired from May 25 and prior to that are able to go. So don't worry, this is just temporary. Okay, it will change. Okay, so the good thing now is it might, how do you say, this might be because, okay, God is helping you to have more time to prepare for the interview. Okay, so just take it, just use this time to practice. Okay, because when the opportunity comes and you're not prepared, all right. So let's get started. All right. So, Mom Russell. So, what are you applying for, Mom Russell? Are you applying for elementary position, high school position? Are you a SPED teacher? What are you?
I'm a science teacher po.
Oh, you're a science teacher. Okay. That's great. Okay. Oh, that's good. Science does not need data. Okay. All right. So let me put my interviewer face on. So some interviewers they look happy. Some interviewers they kind of like just do the smirk like mm. Okay, and some interviewers look very strict. So I'm just going to be in between, like very casual. Um all right. So let's get started. Hi. Hi, Miss Russell. How are you?
I'm good and I'm so excited.
That's great to hear. Okay. So can you tell me about yourself, please?
Okay, so before that, I just would like to say thank you for the chance to show how my qualification and background complements the need of and aspiration of your school. So let me just tell you a little bit about my education journey. So I studied a Bachelor of Science, major in biology at the Ateneo Binaga University. And I also took up methods of teaching. So I got my certificate for professional education. And I also took up my master's in science, major in environmental science, minor in general science education at the University of Nueva Ecija. So I started my public institution journey at Don Embosalvo National High School. I stayed there for 5 years. I handled Science 8. Um, I taught general science, biology, chemistry, and physics. During that time, I implemented inquiry-based learning and engaged hands-on laboratory, which I believe which tripled students' achievement scores over that period. So if I can still remember the exact number, the data showed that there was this 25% increase. So I love designing collaborative projects. So I was happy that my students improved their critical thinking skills. So after that, I transferred to Ligmanan. So I handled science grades 4 to 6 at Fortunate Grace Learning Center. That happened during the pandemic. So I use interactive virtual simulation, gamified quizzes to make learning fun because that's that my students were in elementary. So using those strategies, that results also into a 32% jump in the assessment scores. I also used a flipped classroom strategy, which helped increase the students' engagement. So it's very hard because that happened during the pandemic, and it's so hard to catch the attention of the students. Most of my students simply message me, teacher, I cannot attend your class because I'm not feeling good. But most of them were playing instead of attending the class. So, and then I transferred to San Juan National High School. That's my current school now. I handled Science 9. I also handled science, general science, biology, environmental science, chemistry, and physics with 40 to 45 class size. I became the head teacher of science department, and I do classroom observation to my co-teachers in the department and give technical assistance if needed. So being the department head, as a result of regular classroom observation and targeted technical assistance, I believe that my department achieved increase in overall student test scores over the year. So monitoring also the performance of my co-teachers, the quality of the lesson rating, and our peer review rose from the average from 3.6 to 4.4 out of 5. So my teachers' confidence in using new instructional strategies also climbed by 30%. So it's an amazing change too. And also, I've been a winning coach in several science quiz bee in the division. On top of different activities, I also played the assistant coordinator of the WINGS program. So I implemented programs which helped the safety and hygiene of my students during the pandemic. So after implementing different programs, I was awarded as one of the most outstanding implementer of the WINGS program and also most outstanding teacher in the division. And lastly, I became the president of our alumni association. So I use the power to implement a certain class home project. So class home project is all about helping struggling learners. So we brought together teachers not only in our school but also we invited education graduates um, through the collaboration of different teachers, administrators, and community partners to run this after-school mentoring session. Um, we realize the power of collaboration and how much we can do when we come together for our students. So this class home project has been running for 2 years now. And because of the result, I'm very proud that even our mayor extended his support to this project. Um, I believe that we are capable of teaching. I believe that education is not about just imparting knowledge. We can teach, we can execute our today's agenda, but teaching is about empowering students to become confident, independent thinkers, and in the future, they will become our future leaders. So by incorporating innovative teaching strategies, interactive lessons, and especially real world applications, I believe that I am making learning more engaging and meaningful for every student in my classroom. I have these few students of mine who are in their college now. They were telling me, Mom, ginagamit pa namin yung strategy dahil sa mga tinuturo niyo. So we were very thankful, Ma'am, sa tinuro niyo. So at the heart of my teaching philosophy is the belief that no child should be ever left behind. So, before this interview, I conducted research about the school. So I am glad that my mission and vision is also parallel or aligned to the vision, my personal vision mission. So, as a teacher, I am not after we always think of the salary, but also I also consider my future on how to develop my professional journey, my professional development in the long run. So that's it for now. Thank you.
That's great. You've got a lot of projects, and it's good that you're able to connect it to your community. Now, so I just have a question about how do you manage your time, being that you have a lot of these coordinatorship. How do you manage
Mhm.
your time and make sure that the students in your own classroom get the adequate time for learning, and at the same time giving them the opportunity to grow despite the challenges that you face because of all those coordinatorships and all those activities or extracurricular activities that you're involved in?
Yeah. Mm. My students are my non-negotiable. So aside from my family, my students are non-negotiable for me. Those activities, no, those extracurricular activities, uh, will be narrowed down which one is more important. But the very most important on top of all those priorities are my students. So I have to take note or to narrow down the list. So um, whether these activities will benefit me from my promotion, I should always take the consideration of my for the welfare of my students. So also time management is very important.
I like that. Okay. Now, so I love that you've mentioned a lot about data, and data is mostly used in schools here in the US in order for us to see if our students are progressing. Now, I could tell that you were able to raise your students' data. Now, how do you track the students' progress in order to keep the momentum of their growth?
Mhm. So we conducted different tests also. So recently, if I remember it, we implemented, we conducted that by using the data, we were able to identify the students' progress, and we use that data to target who among the students have this low progress, and we identify also the strategies, what strategies to employ with those levels. And also, I became the writer of the division with which the task is to handle different learners levels. So I was able to what they call this, employ strategies on that using different data also.
I like that. That's great. So, data is very important here in the US because most schools, especially charter schools, would close down if the data is not good. So, we would want a teacher who really is a data-driven teacher and is good in using data to inform their instruction. All right. Now, what is, or can you give me an example of an online tool or app that you have used and why? I do remember that you've mentioned one thing that you used. Is there anything else that you are familiar with, especially that is
Mhm.
aligned to the U.S. education system?
Mhm. Uh, since I'm teaching in the province, the problem here. I'm sorry, but I one of the problems here in Camarines Sur is internet connection, and we have to do something about it. Um, so we also have what do you call this, AVR. So I always use my own what do you call this, laptop, so that my students will also be engaged in using what do you call this, different technology in my lessons to enhance learning. So if I can still remember, my students like simulations. So we use different uh, we incorporate different technology through the use of this interactive simulation and virtual labs, such as PET simulations. Um, I also use Kahoot for assessments, and I use Google Workspace, Microsoft Teams, and other multimedia resources into my lessons. So by incorporating different assessments and quizzes, um, I was able to provide instant feedback to my students, even though they are 40 or 45 class size. And this also allows me to track their progress and address areas of improvement. So by seamlessly integrating technology into science, some of my students find science as boring. So I was able to change their perspective. So I aim to create a learning environment that is innovative and responsive to the needs of the students.
That's great. Okay, now tell me about a time when you had to modify a lesson because how do I say? Tell me about a time you had to modify a lesson because you wanted to make it to how do I say? So share a time when you modified a lesson to better meet the needs of a struggling student.
Mhm. That happened when my lesson doesn't go the way I was expecting. So I try not to get discouraged. So pardon me, I'm going to use my Tagalog or Bicol. What happened? Ano nangyari? Bakit ang baba ng score nyo? Bakit, ang simple-simple lang ng lesson. but actually I see it as a valuable learning moment for my student and also for me, especially for me, because it's not the way that I see the lesson as very easy, but I have to relate or ask my students to. So I start with, by reflecting on what may have gone off track. I ask myself things like, was the material too challenging? Did I go through it too quickly? Yeah. So it's was it just not connecting to my students. So I always check with my students. Something as simple as um exit ticket or just a very short reflection, which can really help me understand what they took away from the lesson or didn't. So based on what I got or what I learned, I have to adjust the next day. Sometimes that means reteaching, um, reteaching a concept using a different strategy that uh, involves incorporating more visuals, breaking it to simple chunks or simple details, uh, um, using different group activity, which is more interactive. So because I am a big believer of differentiation and scaffolding, that my students can access the content in a way that makes sense to them.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Miss Volante. My secretary will call you in 3 days to give you the results of this interview. Okay, so
Thank you
let's
very much.
let's take a break for a little bit. Drink water, relax. Okay, so let's take a break for a little bit. Okay, now here's my feedback. Let's get started with the feedback. Okay. I love your responses. It really did feel like you are a very well-seasoned teacher. Okay. I like that you pointed out about data management, data, classroom management, and technology are three of the biggest things in the United States. So it's very important that you look it up, okay, that you know, okay, what how data is used here in the US, okay, how differentiation is used in the US, how classroom management works here, and how technology. There's four: data, differentiation, classroom management, and data technology. Okay, you hit all of those points. I like that. Now here's the thing. Okay, do not go overboard the experience outside classroom teaching, because remember, here in the United States, so we are teachers are focused inside the classroom. Now the tendency is, if you have noticed, I did ask you, how do you make sure that your
Yeah.
students, or you, how to say,
Yes.
yeah, that you prioritize your learners still, despite the fact that you have a lot of coordinatorship. Okay, so all of your experiences, they were really good. Okay, all of the data points, they were really good, but remember to not go overboard, okay, when it comes to your experiences, especially if it's outside the classroom. Now I love the writing, that's good, the coordinatorship and everything, it's really good, that really helps you. However, remember, focus on the classroom, because if you go overboard, they might think, oh, she doesn't have the time in the classroom. It looks like her responses are just theories, when I know for a fact that it's true. Okay, I know for a fact that you spend time in the classroom, because with your responses, it really did look, it really sound like it came from experience. But you have to understand that, again, teachers here in the US are classroom teachers. So we have to focus on whatever is in the classroom. Now, what else? So it's a given already, because right now it's 4 a.m. We're relaxed. We just woke up. So it's very important that in the interview, okay, we're well dressed, but right now, because it's just a mock interview, so we'll let that go. Okay. The
Yes, po.
headphones, okay, we got to remove that. Okay.
Yes, po.
Lighting still. Okay. But you know what? I would hire you if I'm the interviewer. I would.
Thank you po.
Okay, you did amazing.
Thank
You
you
It really
very
did sound
much.
like the classroom, how do you say, you are a good fit to a classroom here in the US because you know your data, you know how to use it, you know how to differentiate your lesson, you know, you were very genuine when you were asked about technology. Because it is true that in the Philippines, internet connection is a terrible problem. Okay, it's good that you pointed that out despite your strongest points in the classroom and all your coordinatorship and all your achievements. Okay, because that's being genuine. Okay, they want a teacher who's very honest about what they can work on. Okay, one of the reasons why teachers don't get renewed or the teachers, don't get renewed for the following year is because they are not being honest with what they need to work on. And when they're told that this is what you need to work on, they don't listen. Okay, so it's good that you show that in the very beginning of the interview. Okay, or prior to being hired. What else? Okay, especially the last one. I like the last part when you said that it's a learning experience for you, especially for you. Okay? So by when you pointed that out, it signals the interviewer that you're willing to learn more and you're willing to collaborate. And here in the US, collaboration with with colleagues is a big factor, especially that when you come in here, you will have an instructional coach. And mind you, okay, they might be younger than you are. They might be younger than you are. I was when I came in here, I had a lead who was a college student. And yep. So you might be surprised. So it's a good thing that signals the interviewer that you're willing to work with your colleagues. So if I am the interviewer, I would hire you. You did amazing.
Thank you very much, Flo.
Okay. Next, I would say Miss Abby. Okay. So let's take a break for a little bit. Relax. Woo. All right. So, how was it? Kumusta? What have you learned so far? I need you to type it down. What have you learned so far for with those two interview? While I'm drinking my water, I need you to type it down. All right. Again, just a disclaimer. So here I am here to help you. It's not to criticize you or to turn you down or whatever, but this interview is to help you improve your how do you say your responses. Now, it's up to you if you're going to take it positively. But I would say that if you don't take this in, I have an experience in interviewing candidates from the Philippines because I was the first J1 teacher in my school, and these are the questions that are normally asked. And these are the things that they normally would look for. Now, one of the things that how do you say one of the things that my principal did tell me when it comes to hiring a teacher is that we have to hire a teacher that is teachable. Okay, and so in your interview you have to be very honest, okay, with whatever you're lacking. Okay, and you have to show that you're willing to collaborate with people in your school because that's a very big thing. When we come in here, we are starting out, we are starting fresh. We're practically starting at a zero. So I did spend just 2 years in the division in my school, but I was able to get a lot of awards, division, RSPC, national, but they didn't matter here. Okay, what matters is your ability to be able to teach students inside the classroom. And the very first year would be the toughest. So it's very important that you're able to know or that you're able to show, okay, that you're willing to deal with those challenges and you're willing to learn. Okay, use of data collection. Ngayon ko lang nalaman ang dam pala ang kulang sa akin. What's this? At ngayon ko lang nalaman. Thanks God, nakasali ko ngayon feeling na nagawa ko naman sa classroom pero nakalimutan sabihin during classroom. Yeah. So I did have an interview with last time when I had my mock interview. So there was one interviewee who was really good in English. She was really good, really sounded smart, had such a nice voice, very jolly, but then she was tweaking her responses because she thought she had the edge because she was really good in speaking in English. Now she was like, "Oh, so I've been waiting for a year, asking myself what could have gone wrong because I am really good at speaking in English. my communication skill is really good, and I know that I'm a good teacher. So what went wrong? Well, there I told her what went wrong is that you were tweaking your responses, and you were your responses were just very fleeting. They were not even directed to what the interviewer was really asking you. So she had multiple interviews. She was really good in English, but never got hired. So, yep. All right. Now I will start with, so let's go ahead and go to our third one. I will only interview five. Sorry, guys. I'll probably have to reschedule. Okay. I mean, I'll probably have to set a schedule, but next week I'm probably going to be busy because I do have tutorials. Yeah, I do have tutorials with my students. So I'm not really sure if I'm able to do that next week, but um I would schedule one. Okay, hold on. Let me see. Where was the other one? Miss Abby. Miss Abby Hope. Okay.
Hi.
Hi. Let me let me look for you. I need to look for your picture because I have to add you on the spotlight. Okay. Okay. Abby. Oh, there you are. Wow. Your background is cute. Okay. Let me put you on spotlight.
Sure.
All right. So I'm going to say it again. So the feedback, I needed to take it in positively. So I'm sharing this feedback because of my experience as one of the interviewers in our school, and also having been able to experience the US system and having witnessed how do you say colleagues or Filipinos, and yeah. So I'm on my fifth year. I'm going back to the Philippines by July. So I
Wow.
okay, yep. And I know that you're gonna make it too. Okay. So, okay, let's get started. Let me see. Miss Abby. So you're an elementary teacher just like me. Yep.
Yes, I
Okay, you're an elementary teacher. Okay, so how are you?
am pretty nervous right now.
Okay, it's normal to be nervous.
This
It's
is
normal
real.
it's normal to be nervous. Okay. So what's not normal is when you're not nervous, Most of the time, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So okay, so let me see. I do have some people here that want to join the meeting, but they're still in the waiting room. Hold on. Let me just
Sure.
okay. So, all right. So let me drink water and then I'll put my interview face on. Okay, interviewer face on. Okay. Yeah, parang nauubos na yung boses ko kasi it's been I've been experiencing asthma since Monday until now. So Monday here, which was Tuesday there. So yeah, but I'm like, I can't cancel it today. I can't. I have to make it today. So okay, so let's get started. Okay, what's your last name, Abby? What's your last name?
That's Foronda. Foronda.
All right. Good morning, Miss Ferranda. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. How about you?
I'm fine. Thank you for asking. Okay, your background is really nice. I like the color.
Thank you.
Okay. Can you please tell me about yourself?
Sure. Hi. I'm Abigail. I have 6 years of teaching in fourth grade students here in the Philippines. I have a Bachelor of Elementary Education, and I earned a 36 units in master's degree, majoring in educational management. I consider myself a motivated and driven individual with a passion for continuous growth and learning. I'm committed to do my student-centered teaching approach where every student should be feel, seen, and encouraged to grow. I'm dependable. I can quickly adapt to challenges. I make sure or I believe in maintaining a positive, collaborative work ethic. So I make sure that everyone around me would feel that I'm easy to be with. I finished tasks given to me with full responsibility. And right now, I'm excited to apply those skills in this new role. Thank you.
Nice. It's great to know you more. Now, are you able to tell me about Are you able to tell me how do you make sure that your lessons are aligned to the state standards?
Um, I made sure that it is aligned to the state standards because I studied the state standards. So just like what we're doing here in the Philippines, I made sure that before the uh, school year begins, I have the handouts to study the curriculum. And I make sure that every lessons that I have or the lesson plans that I will be preparing will be aligned, especially the objectives.
Hmm. Great. So, how do you make sure that, or how do you set clear, specific expectations to your kids in order to make sure that your classroom is organized and is able to maximize their learning time?
All right. So I do that every beginning of our class. So I make sure that I'm clear with instructions, with the rules. And before I begin the proper lesson, I make sure that I ask them as well if they remember, or I'm asking them what are the rules, regulations, and the instructions that I want them to follow. And it's like I really planned it before I'm doing my class instructions. So whenever there comes disruption or class disruption, whatever situation it is, I make sure to go back to the instructions that I made, and I make sure that it is clear. I also ask them if it's clear, and if it's not, then I wanted to make sure that I have to do it again, repeat, and make them as clear as crystal clear.
Great. Okay. Now, so what did you choose to apply at our school?
I chose your school because I've researched about it. So when I'm doing my research about job openings, I found it on your website, and I'm I'm excited that I want to be with your school because of the work ethics, the testimonies of the workers and teachers. And I'm also excited because you have a lot of Filipino teachers there. And I want to express myself in the new setup. And I want to begin with, I want to unlearn and learn at the same time. And I'm excited that I will have to do it at your school.
Hmm. Wow, that's great. So it really does look like your vision and mission really aligns with ours. Now, can you tell me what would a typical lesson in your classroom would look like?
I'm sorry.
Yeah. What would a typical lesson or a typical lesson in your classroom look like?
Since I've been teaching, since the beginning of my teaching experience is teaching English. So I wanted to make sure that I make sure that the pupils are in a safe place. I make sure that my subject areas are aligned with a state curriculum, and I make sure that at the end um, of our lesson or the class, they have the almost 100% that they really learned.
Hmm. That's great. I love that you've mentioned the 100% right there because we in our school we aim to make sure that our students' growth is high. Okay, since we are a charter school. Now, I need you to tell me how to use data to inform your instruction.
I'm sorry.
How to use data to inform your instruction.
All right. As an elementary teacher, the data that I am using is, of course, aligned as well for from the national curriculum, and make sure that I have the numbers. So from the beginning of the class until the middle and at the end of each quarter. So I make sure that the numbers are growing or in a positive increase. So if ever that there are, of course, there will be times that there are students that might in the slow pace of learning. So I make sure that they have to, or we will extend or try to really do the lesson again, but another approach, another strategy, so that the data would be in in a pace where every students are growing or increasing.
So, what about the students who have or with trauma, who are dealing with trauma and with emotional challenges? How do you support those kinds of students?
Well, I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do is I will make sure that I'm present, that I care about them, or if they're ready to speak or talk about it, about the trauma, I will listen. I'll be just there and wait for the student and make sure that he inside the classroom, he wouldn't be feel that the trauma is in there. So I will let the students, I am not just a teacher, but I am someone that will take care of them inside the classroom.
Thank you very much. So, I will have my secretary call you in 3 days' time. Okay, I appreciate your time.
Right. Thank you so much, Miss Michelle.
All right, so breathe in, breathe out.
Thank you.
Okay, breathe out. Okay, so, okay, here's my verdict. Okay, now I can tell that you're an elementary teacher. You have the voice of an elementary teacher. You have the energy of an elementary teacher. Now, here's the thing. Okay. One thing that I have noticed is that when I ask you about you to tell me about yourself, you did, the typical. Well, you said about your degree and all that. Now, it's very important that you make it memorable because they don't hire you because you know the job. They hire you because they remember you. Okay. Okay, so interviewers hire the best applicant from among all the other applicants, and they do though they would say that there's a shortage of teachers here in the U.S. Uh, some schools or many schools hire teachers that are not licensed, okay, locals that are not licensed. So you are competing with them. Now, what's your edge? You have to. Okay, because one thing, they prefer people who are already here. Okay, so what is your edge? Okay, well, you have the qualifications, and so I need you to make that more memorable. Maybe just like for the with the first two interviewers. So I do remember the first interviewee, not interviewer, interviewee, Miss Vima did mention about her experience with a student. The second interviewee, okay, did mention about data. Okay, so make it memorable. It has to be memorable. Okay, and I can tell that you really care about your students with the way you speak. Okay, that's one. That's a plus. Okay, that really tells me that how do you say that you really love your students. But here's the thing. Okay, when I ask you about data, okay, you were kind of like tweaking it, okay, because you were like I could tell right away that when I ask you data, you know data, but you're just not confident to incorporate it in your answer. Now it's very important. Now here's the thing: to do your responses with data, I need you to make sure that you understand how data works in the US, how it's used to group your kids for differentiated instruction. Okay, that's very important. Um, what else? I could tell that your classroom management is good, and especially with the last part when you said that I would I would be the teacher that's present. That's one thing that principals want to have for their teachers. Okay, that's already a big factor for you. Okay, so what I and one thing, setting clear expectations. So you did say that you planned it, you planned it, you asked your kids about it. It's good, but I will need you to make your response direct. So how do you do that? So make sure that you tell how. For example, okay, I start the day by setting the expectations. As the students come in, okay, I make sure that I have my expectations displayed on the board. For example, I will display that their conversation must be at a level 0. Okay, that way when they come in, they already know that they should not talk. Okay, it has to be very specific, very concrete. You want the interviewer to be able to imagine how your classroom is going to look like if they hire you. Okay.
All right.
Yeah. So for right now, I would put you on the wait list. So just work on those. But you know what? You have a very big chance because you have the personality. Okay. You show that you care about your kids. Okay. And it did really look like, how do you say? You have the experience. Okay. You just need to make sure that you tailor your responses with how, okay, the US educational system works. Okay. So maybe research more about it. Um, Research more about data. Classroom management wise, I have no problem with that. Setting the expectations. Okay, make sure you look it up. Okay. And if you do, you're gonna be hired. Okay.
All
But for
right.
right now, I would say that you're gonna be on the wait list. Okay. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Miss Michelle.
All right. Now, is there anything that you have learned in this interview with Miss Abby? Go ahead and type it down really quick. Okay, I'll remove you from the spotlight.
Sure.
Thank you, Miss Abby. Thank you.
Welcome.
Okay, I have a question here. Somebody asked, being not fluent could possibly not hired as ma'am. No. Okay, no. Okay, being very fluent is a big edge. One, it's because kids listen to teachers who are pretty much like them. Okay? One of the feedback from the students for to teachers who don't speak like fluently is like, why do you speak like that? Do you speak Chinese? Are you Chinese? So that's the funniest feedback, but no, it's just an advantage. It's an advantage. There are a lot of teachers that are not fluent in English. So don't lose hope if your English is not as fluent. It's just an advantage. I would say majority of the teachers are not like their accent is not good. I'm not bragging, but my accent's just good because I have the experience. But majority of the teachers here are not. Okay. So majority of the teachers here, especially in my school, their English is not as good. Okay. So it's, well, I mean, our principal has like very high standards when it comes to accent. So I would say, well, there are some that are okay, but I would say in CCSD, I know a lot of teachers that are not really good in English. I mean, not good in pronouncing the words, but it's fine. Okay. So don't lose hope. Okay. Do not lose hope. It's just an advantage. Okay. Okay. We should always let the interviewer feel that we always care about our students' welfare, never leave them alone. Correct. Oh, one thing. In the US, we cannot leave the students, unlike in the Philippines. Sometimes, the teachers are like, the teachers go to the other teacher's class and do chica chica. Yeah, we can't do that here in the US. We can't. We could get in trouble. So I did in my first year, let me tell you, in my first year, so I went to the bathroom, left my kids in the classroom, and okay, the teacher next door, she was so surprised. She was like, why do you leave the kids? Oh my goodness. So if something happens to them, you're going to be liable for them. So no, we cannot do that. Okay. We cannot leave the kids. Okay. Being not fluent could possibly, okay. She speaks with feelings. Okay. Awesome. I learned that we need to be more specific when answering questions. Very important. Be very specific when giving out examples from our own experiences. It's good if we can also tailor it according to the US educational setting. Yes, absolutely. Okay. Because they want an applicant who how to say who already knows a lot about the setting of the school. That's why most interviewers would ask you why your vision and mission align, or how does their vision and mission aligns to your philosophy. Okay, because they want a teacher who they will not have a hard time training. Okay, they would only want a teacher who, how do I say, when they train teachers, they just teach them once or twice and that's it. After that, no more. You got to figure it out yourself. Okay, now let's see. I don't know who else. Oh, MJ, some MJ. What was his name? Okay, let me see. Let me pull it up. Okay, did anybody else okay, volunteer. I do know that there was an MJ who volunteered, but I don't know who it was because it wasn't like MJ. Who was it? Who wants to go next?
Hello, Ma'am Michelle.
Yes. What's your
Yeah,
name?
this is MJ.
MJ. I need to look.
Yeah,
I need to look.
Mary Jane Laguna.
Mary.
Excuse me, Ma'am Michelle, I typed after Ma'am Abigail.
Oh no,
I
this
put
Mom
Abigail.
MJ. Mom MJ.
Yes,
Messaged me on Facebook. So
okay.
yeah. So let me cater
Okay,
her, and then after that you. Okay.
thank you. Because it goes out only for then I left. Okay, I thought
Yeah. No.
there are isa ako.
No, the thing is, you know how I when I posted, I was like, okay, message me if you want to do the interview. So these are the people who did message me ahead. Okay.
Okay, I thought I have to.
No, that's okay.
I had okay, okay.
That's okay. That's fine. Okay. Now, all right. So, okay, let me add you to the spotlight. Dun, dun, dun. There you go. Hello.
Yeah.
Okay. So, okay. Mr. Paul, I'm sorry, I haven't received your message on Facebook. I did receive four and I took note of them. So I would say maybe next time. I'll probably have to schedule another set of interview. But I do know, no, maybe not. Okay. Let me just leave it here. Okay, so let's see. Ma'am Mary Jane Laguna, what are you applying for?
Yeah. Hello, ma'am. Good morning. So I'm applying for a special education teacher.
Okay, let me pull up the questions for SPED. Okay.
Yeah.
Uh, elementary, high school, pre-K. Is there any specific
And
or no? No?
yeah, I'm currently teaching them K to 12 senior high school students.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's good. So we have our very first special education teacher. Okay. Now let's breathe in, breathe out. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Now, in 3, 2, 1, interviewer face. Let's get started. Hi, Miss Laguna. How are you?
Well, I'm doing good. How about you?
I'm fine. Thank you very much for asking. Now, Miss Laguna, so can you please tell me about yourself?
Oh, thank you for the opportunity for again sharing my visions and stories with you. By the way, I'm Mary Jane M. Laguna, and currently teaching at Louise Wyfer Junior Senior High School, and I do handle mainstream classes, and at the same time, I do have my SNED class. So it's definitely a special needs education class. So my teaching journey started with being a TVL teacher, but I too resigned with my post for some reasons, family reasons, because we'll have to move here in Cavite, some a part of the Philippines. And after that, I became a college instructor, professor too, and because I really have this, my heart really belongs to basic education, so I again reapplied, and it's really a chance for me being given again the opportunity to teach in basic education. So again, that was really a long journey. I was there teaching junior high school, and after that I'm here now. So special needs education teacher, and at the same time mainstream teacher. So I would really say that I mean, teaching is really compelling, and there is really a reason for me to go on with my advocacy. It's really part of my advocacy because, just to really mention, I am also one of a professional active member of the Philippine Society for Special Educators. So it's really more of enhancing our pedagogy and teaching approaches in how we're going to mold a student, especially those with exceptionalities. And I really can see learners as really, because I am also a mother, I do have a lot of vision for them. I am really I do have this grounded on this philosophy, and it's actually, I know for sure that you are also aware of an old dictum that teachers are not just there to teach minds, but we are there to touch hearts and transform lives. That's always been my, I always be on that. I am compassionate with my student. And at the same time, with regards to why I really wanted to teach in the US, it's really part of my long term professional dream to really widen my horizon and always be cultivate more, enhance my teaching approaches. And I know for sure that if really being given a chance to really get there and socialize and deal with some other cultures, it will definitely give me some kind of advancement. And there's really a lot of I have this mixed emotions right now. I love to just really share my passion, what really who really I am as a teacher. Because you know what, when I am inside the classroom, it should really be that I'm not just there to teach. I really to connect with my students, and building connections with students, that is really so important. And I'm not just going at the end of the day, there should always be a reflection that what are the things that I've done, and does it really give some proper orientation to my student? Do I actually connect with my student? So I mean, creating a lasting, lifelong experience, a meaningful experience towards my student is really, and not just a good point for me as a teacher, but it keeps on, enlightening and giving me the kind of passion to just really go through the process, because I know for sure that teaching, it's not just only we're not just there at the four corners of their classroom, but we have to really make it a point that every part, the students are being given the right kind of approach, the right kind of attention, and they will really be valued.
Mm.
And I know for sure that it could be a challenging, and the journey is really on, but I keep my faith hopes and my faith high. And that's it. That's it already. So yeah,
All right,
thank
thank
you.
you. That's beautiful. I love that you mentioned exceptionality, because here in the US, there's a lot of schools that are, or I mean, like many schools have kids with exceptionality, and it's one of the priorities of public schools. So, given that you've mentioned that, how do you find inclusion, and why is it important?
Being a teacher, inclusion is always remembering those, it's very important that we need to not label a student. It should be that our perspective is being grounded on, on a reflection that every learner should not be left behind. They must be accommodated well, and simplifying a particular task, especially if, because in my class there are this what we call mainstream classes, wherein general education teachers are there, and it's really different from the setup wherein I had my inclusion class. I mean, it's a self-contained class. So what really I can just mention experience of mine. All right, so what really happened was I had this kind of student. There are actually four students in the classroom, and I noticed that there are really some triggers with this with one student. I need to really on him, and I need to address that concern, and that is really compromising for me as a teacher. But I take that one as a big challenge for me. But eventually, as I really go through, I can see that there is really a lot that the teaching, I mean, there's really a lot of things that I need to do, and I need to really be involved with. So learners of this kind, they must be not taken for granted. I have reinforcements. So let's say I do have candies with me, and those simple ways of just saying, "Oh, you did it! Well, that is a great job." So whenever, even if that is just really something, a very minimal achievements, but I do those accomplishments, I really let them feel that they really feel valued, and I really do compliment that one. So it inclusion for me, it's really giving into detail on what really needs to be taken for, what really needs to be done. And in my mainstream classes, of course, because just to mention, I also handle ABM class, so particularly research and entrepreneurship class. So it's definitely not just the same with my SNET class. So, but I can see something or somebody that really, even though they are not undiagnosed, sorry to say, but that is really in the Philippine setting. Um, we need there are also some limitations on how we're going to address on that. But as a teachers, we are keen on observing. We do pay attention to what does this learner needs and how will I really cater and accommodate them. So I do differentiated learning approach, and differentiated learning. It's not just mainly that okay, I'm going to group them into, let's say, four groups, and then I will give them tasks to do. That is, but I need to simplify that one in a mannerly way that the students can just really get it, and they can just, execute the task just like the way they want it to. So those kinds of approach really is, you know, um, I am building rapport, and at the same time, we are not, as a teacher, we do not ever label a student. I always take into my approach that there are really special learners. I need to really love them, and I need to embrace them.
I like that. Yes. Because there are a bunch of kids that are like that here in the US. And but the good thing is, so they have to be diagnosed before they could get placed into a resource classroom. So, given that you have experience in a resource classroom, how do you manage challenging behaviors, especially that, SPED kids are the hardest or the most difficult to manage? I have had an experience myself, and I could say it's pretty hard. So, how do you manage challenging behaviors in your own classroom?
We cannot really deny the fact that there are really those, it will really exist within the classroom, but teachers are really flexible. And the way I manage it, it should be that at the first onset of the classroom, I mean, of let's say the beginning of the class, there should be a strict rule and expectations. I have to deal with the expectations. I have to really clearly let them know about it. And then once they already have know the approaches, know those rules, I have to again reiterate it. So do you actually get our rules? Because it should be that it's not only me who understands it. It should be a mutual connection. So if ever that, let's say, even just they have their things right on, and I will let them just place that one in a corner, or let's say something within the classroom that it's just in the corner that they cannot even do it, I again do some reiterations, and I will say, all right, so I have noticed that somebody of you, so we'll have to do it again. I need to really simplify that one in order for them to really get what I mean to say. Because expectations, setting up clear expectations is really needed. That is really so necessary, especially for that it's really a group of learners, and they have, I mean, there are individual differences. So I need to really make sure that everything is actually being set upon, and it's being clearly addressed to them, and being clearly what's this being given to them, shared to them in a clear way. And if I notice that something's not really good and I have to go back to the very basic, okay, we'll do it again. And then right after that, if they already know the pacing, then I am going to build some reinforcements. Okay, very good. That's nice. So in that way, it can boost their morale and their they will be so motivated enough. And there are also things like there are those behaviors that I cannot really just neglect it. It should be dealt upon, um, not just let's say in when I am doing my lesson, um, then there is somebody who is not really engaged. So I'm not going to shout at him. It's not really the proper way, but I'll have to make sure that, all right, I'll just have to go nearby and, okay, well, is it okay with you? I'm going to talk to you in a bit. And then I need to really emphasize what are my rules, and is there something that confused him or her to really know those rules? So in that way, there will be a chance for us to really do connect, and whatever it is that needs to be changed or modified, and we'll have to, I need to, because I am a teacher and I need to really value what are their thinking and what they feel. Maybe they're not really comfortable enough to just really go on with my rules, so it should be clear enough. And I believe that is really, I need to really be consistent with the rulings. Yeah, thank you.
That's great. I like that. Okay, now, so as special education teachers, you are required to write and create the IEP. Now, so how do you, and what is your process for writing and implementing an IEP, or the individualized education program?
This is really necessary, and it really has a big involvement to that with the parents, of course, the student. If there is really a need for us to really coordinate with the guidance counselor or whoever it was that really has a direct what's this direct involvement with the I with making and creating, crafting the individualized education plan, then I need to really make sure that everything is really put in place. So it's not just me. I know how to, I believe, because of all the experience and to have my advanced studies as well with regards to crafting my own IEP. But it's not just merely an assumption. That is really Lego. And in fact, here in the Philippines, that is also being, there is this thing that goes beyond behind this legal ways, and that is, if I'm not mistaken, the Republic Act 11650. So it really has something to do with inclusion. So I need to really make sure that it's not just merely an assumption, but I need to really go through it in a way that the diagnosis is being addressed upon, and I have to make sure that the accommodations, possible accommodations, is being written in there, and it must be simplified. And differentiation is really a must also, because even if I know that I believe I can do it, but I need to make sure and reassess once again if the child really knows. It should be tailored fit on the needs of the child. And I need to address this once again to the general education teachers, because they will be my, shall we say, there must be collaboration. So the general education teacher, I need to let them know that, okay, these are just really the ample guide for you to, for us to really sustain, because our goal in here is to really let the child get the ample or the kind of learning styles or needs that is really tailored fit to him. So we need to realize these objectives. So once it's already there, and there is a forum already with the parents, with of course the general education teachers, and of course the principal, because this, it's also needed that I'm not just only alone in this kind of journey. It is an amp collaboration once again with those groups of the administrators, okay, of course the parents, and for us to really realize there is a full realization of the plan. Why is it so big? It's a plan because there are really structured approaches to, and then I need to really monitor if the child is really acting up. Is it's if there is really, you know, a kind of initiations, and if the child really was able to really cope up with the kind of learning styles or those accommodations that I give and I shared with him. And it should be, again, everyone should really be informed, especially the parents, the guidance counselor, the general education teacher, and the principal.
All right. Thank you very much, Ms. Laguna. for your responses,
Thank
and I
you.
appreciate your time for today. So I'll have my secretary contact you in the next 3 days to give you the update,
Thank you.
to give you the result on this interview. Right, let's take a break, relax. Okay, if I am the interviewer, I will hire you right away. Right.
Oh,
Okay. Here are some key points that you did mention. Okay, your introduction was very on point. It was remarkable. And you did mention about you being a member of the, what was that again that you mentioned?
Tolset.
Yeah, and
Philippine, yeah.
yeah, so you did mention that. That's a plus. Okay.
Oh,
When you talked about the IEP, I was going to ask you, how do you ensure that the gen ed teacher is implementing, okay, the accommodations? And you already answered it without me asking. So that was good. So you already answered that. Yes, because here in the US, just like in the Philippines, it is how do you say, the IEP is a legal document, and if the general education teacher does not accommodate, like any accommodation for the SPED student, we could lose our license. We could go to jail for that. Okay, so I like that. And when it comes to classroom management, now I love that you mentioned repetition. Okay, repetition is a very big key. Okay, so though at the very beginning when you answered when I asked you about the classroom management, so it was kind of broad. Your answer was kind of broad, but later towards the end, you did mention repetition. So repetition is a really good thing to mention. Why? Because here in the US, if the kids, okay, for the first 2 weeks, if they are misbehaving, not following the expectations, they're not really misbehaving. It's just that they're testing to see how far they can push you. Okay? They're not really like behaviors. They're testing to see how far they can push you and how firm you are. If you're not as firm, they will keep on doing that behavior. And the very skill that you need to have is repetition. You have to keep on repeating the instruction over and over again. Okay, for example, in my classroom, okay, I set the expectations. Okay, the conversation level has to be at a 0. Okay, when you need help, you need to raise your hand. Now, there are some kids who would say, me, 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 me. Instead of, how do you say, moving forward, we do it over again. For example, in the US, unlike in the Philippines where kids have to sit down, have to sit on their chairs the whole time, or maybe during differentiated instruction, we, how do you say, we change we do rotations. But what I notice is in the Philippines, the transition is not as emphasized. In the US, it is. Okay? When we do transitions, it's very important that they have to follow your expectation. Your expectation while they're sitting down is different. Your expectation as you're standing up or maybe moving around is also different. So, what we do is let's say they're at a level, like let's say, okay, when I say go, I need you to grab your book and your pencils, and we will go to the carpet at a level 0. When one kid talks, they have to start over. That's where you do the repetition. You say, all right, I'm sorry. Okay, I love how this friend is looking amazing. Going to the carpet at a level 0 with all his materials. However, I have one friend here who's not ready. Let's try that again. Okay, so I love that you mentioned repetition. Now, I would say, okay, your communication skill was really good. You hit all the points about IEP, inclusion, exceptionality. Those are the things that principals are looking for in special education teachers. So you're hired.
thank you, ma'am. I actually have my ano, ma'am. Um, na ako'y
Okay.
bagong Bisaya. Na ako'y kuan, ma'am. Bagong interview karong June 3.
Yeah, so you
Hinaot unta.
just have to mention all those. Okay.
Yes,
Maybe
ma'am.
be more concrete when it comes to your classroom, when it comes to your classroom expectations. That's it. But
Yes,
all in
ma'am.
all, it was really good. You did highlight a lot of points, especially with collaboration with teachers, accommodations, how do you say, IEP, um,
Yes, ma'am.
what else? Yeah, crafting the IEP. You also did
Yes,
mention
ma'am.
about caring about the students and being a member of an organization. That's one of the most highlight what one of the highlights of this interview. So you did amazing. So you're hired.
Thank
Okay.
you, ma'am.
So
Salamat kayo, ma'am.
let me take a break for 2 minutes. I probably have to go to the restroom. So I will need you to go to the restroom for a little bit. We will have one last interview, and it will be dun, 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 Miss Relin. Am I saying your name right? Relin Olarte?
Yes,
Or
ma'am. Yes,
Relin.
ma'am. Yes.
Yes.
Lilin Orate or orate.
Yes. So I will go to the restroom really quick. Let's have a 2 minute break. Okay. Wow, grabe. It took us almost 2 hours. I was expecting it to be just 1 hour, but well. Okay.
Nabuntagan na gyud.
Okay, so I'll just head to the restroom really quick. I'll be back in 2 minutes. Go ahead and grab water, drink, relax, breathe in, breathe out. Maybe type down if you have the time. Type down whatever you have learned so far from this interview. And also, I'm gonna be posting about this. So if you could like comment on that. I'm building my profile because by next year, not this year, I'm trying to build up build my business because I'm going back home, but not this year because this year I'm just giving free mock interviews and I'm gonna be giving mock interviews from time to time. But I'm trying to build my profile. So if you could help me, okay, when I post it on Facebook and give us the feedback, like whatever you learned, okay. So I'll be back 2 minutes. Okay. All right, I'm back. Okay, I'm just checking out the. All right, so Yeah, let's wait for Miss, who was it? Okay, let me just remove Miss from the spotlight and I'll be interviewing Miss Relin. Relin.
No.
Let me see. I'll have to look you up first because I can't see you here. Relin, Paul, can you see? Can't seem to see you. Oh, there you are.
I have to press the okay di ay. Pulba man di ay oy.
No, it's a good thing that you are able to feel that right now. That way you know how it actually looks like because in most
Lagi kay
interviews. Yep,
most of the teachers was having the interview, they are best.
that's great.
All of them.
That's great. So, yeah, just this interview is for us to see what we need to work on, and yeah, just be normal, just be genuine, just be yeah, just speak from your heart, and you should be fine. Okay. One thing that I want to tell you because I know that you were the one who asked about the fluency. They don't care about grammar here in the Philippines. We are very particular with the grammar that we are so afraid to make mistakes.
Yeah, because
Yep, we are very
but Michelle, as long as you can
communicate.
express
Yep.
lang.
In the Philippines, our standards for speaking English is way too high, but in reality, okay, grammar is not really a thing here. They don't even know the correct grammar of things, like the correct grammar. Like a lot of them don't. They don't care. But what they care more about is your accent. Okay? And but here's the thing. The US is a diverse country, so you don't need to be really fluent in English. There's a bunch before my expectation was coming here in the US, there would be a lot of white people. Nope. Okay. Particularly here in Las Vegas, there's a bunch of Mexicans. Because it's just next to Mexico. And prior to the US having 50 plus states, it was like some part of it were Mexico. So, yep. So it doesn't necessarily you don't necessarily need to be like very fluent in English. It's an edge. Okay? So,
Thank you.
all right, sounds like you might have switched to a different language. Please update so we can provide. Yeah, right. And my Zoom is just notifying me that I'm speaking in Visaya or whatever. But okay, so relax. Let's relax first. Okay. Breathe in, breathe out. Okay, so ma'am, unsa may imuhang kuan, gi-applyan? What are you applying for?
I
General
am,
ed,
yes, Gen Ed ma'am. I am
elementary,
graduate
high
in
school.
Bachelor Elementary Education. LM po.
Oh, just like me. Yep. I do have a friend who got hired whose English was not really, um, really like fluent, but as long as you're able to communicate, that's fine. That's fine. Okay? So don't worry about it. Okay? Ayaw ka kulba kay di mo ko mamaak. And the interviewers won't bite you. Okay? I mean, it's normal to be nervous because I also get nervous when I get interviewed. Okay? Okay, so okay, let's see. Okay, let me pull up the questions. Okay, that's why I keep on glancing here and here and here and here because I pull up the questions, the most possible questions, and I try to vary questions from different interviewees.
Yes
Okay,
po.
that way you get to see, you get to have a grasp of the type of questions that you're going to be asked. Okay, even though we only have 5 people that are going to be interviewed today. Okay, now let's get started. Okay. My interviewer face is on. Okay. Hi, Miss Rillin. How are you?
I'm great. How about you?
I'm good. So how do I say your last name? Is it Orate or
Ora, yes.
Ora?
Some other people, they call me orate or orate.
Oh, okay. Wow, that's such a cool last name. I like that. Okay, now let's go ahead and talk about you. So can you please tell me about yourself?
Okay, thank you for that wonderful question, Ma'am Michelle. So, I'm Rilene Orate. I am um, taken as of now. I took up a SPED, just only a certificate. Then I graduated bachelor degree of elementary education. I'm teaching 3 years in a private school, handling grade 1 and grade 2. Well, the 3 years experience in my private school, I handling twice SNED student. Well, that is very that was full of learning about how to handle those kind of learners. Since we are inclusive um, in the classroom, right? Then I am teaching 9 years in depth ed. As of now, I'm in ALS, that what we call alternative learning system, which is handling multi-grade learners, which is I am in the program of that alternative learning system. There is BLP, we call that basic literacy program, which is they are struggling in reading, writing, and even basic math. And the next one is the program of elementary and then the high school. That's it.
Okay, wow. Okay. Now, can you tell me about how your typical classroom setting is like when it comes to, or let's just say, let's just talk about your classroom management. So, how do you ensure that you're able to manage your kids in your classroom?
Okay, thank you for that. So a classroom management is very important in the teachers and the student. Well, at first, I will build a positive relationship through learners so that they may be able to follow what the rules and routine in the classroom. So we first thing we have to master about the routine, to follow them as the learner so that we will maximize the disruption in the classroom.
Okay, great. Now, what about your knowledge of the I do, we do, you do? Because here in the US, we have this system called, or our instruction is in the form of the I do, we do, you do. So how do you use this I do, we do, you do model in your lessons?
Okay, I heard about I do and we do instruction. The I do is I do I make sure that the instruction before I deliver it into my learners, it should be hit the goal. Then we do the learners will do the thing which is the specific subject that they will do what is written in the objective and in the lesson plan. Then other thing with that, in the video also, I make that the motivation and the instruction is well aligned in the lesson plan.
All right. Okay, that's great to hear. Now, how do you differentiate your instruction for your students with different or varying ability levels?
Okay, differentiated learning is that is visible in the classroom, right? So in my case, I have this different level of knowledge since I am handling the different um, kind of a, a program under the Department of Education. So inside the classroom, before I am going to teach, before that I have to I have to prepare what is exact lesson for this level to the BLP, the Basic Literacy Program, and the junior high school and the elementary. But that is the same subject that I taught, but different activities. Then I have to make sure that they have varied activities so that some of the learners will not disrupt into other learners. So that's it.
Hmm. Okay, that's great. Now, how do you use data to inform your instruction?
Okay, data, it's a very important for us as a teacher because that is one thing that we are recognize those learners having weaknesses and having as a strength of this subject, so that we can align what is being missing on those subject that we taught, and we can tailor it what is being really what do we call of this, what is being appropriate to teach for those having weaknesses student that we found.
Okay. Now, describe a time when you were given a feedback by your administrator and how did you respond to it?
Okay, I will not respond into negative way, despite I have to make that some point, what do we call of this, venue or for me to grow so that I will be more effective and efficient teacher.
Mhm. Okay, thank you very much, Miss Ray. I'll call
Thank
my secretary
you.
will call you in the next 3 days to inform you of the results of this interview. Thank you. You have a
Thank
great day.
you.
All right, let's take a break for a moment and let's relax. Let's chill. Okay. Okay, now let's get started with the feedback. Okay. All right. So I can tell that you're an experienced teacher with the way you respond. Okay. But here's the problem. You are very conscious with your English. I can tell that you're very conscious. You can talk just fine. Okay. But I can tell that if you are struggling to find the words in your head, you're like that. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So you know what you can do to work on that? Okay. I used to, okay, I learned to develop my English speaking skills by just looking at the mirror. Okay, whenever I say something like in películas, whatever, like whatever, yeah, in movies, yeah. So I try to copy the lines and I try to copy their accent. Okay. Or when you're doing the interview or before you do the interview, what I would want you to do is, okay, you craft your responses or maybe you draw lots of the questions, okay, how do you say, cut like put them on a paper and then make it like a raffle, okay, and then draw it or maybe have somebody read it to you, and when you're responding, I need you to look at yourself in the mirror, okay. Look at yourself in the mirror. Now, if you get nervous, do not look at the interviewer's face. You know what you can do? Look at the camera. That way you don't get conscious. Because what's happening right now is you are getting overwhelmed that I'm asking you a lot of questions. Okay. When you can just talk just fine. Your answers were good. Okay. But I could tell that towards the end, you're like, what am I going to say? Like, ano bang sasabihin ko? Right? When you know the answer, it's just that your nervousness is the one that's stopping you. Now you have to understand, okay, that an interview comes, okay, it's very hard to come by. I mean, an interview is very hard to come by. So if you miss that chance, if you let your nervousness, okay, eat you up, then you lose that chance. Okay. You can talk just fine. Your points are really good. Okay. When you respond to my question, you always come strong at the beginning, but cut you cut yourself in the middle because you're like you're lost for words. Okay. So practice in front of a mirror. Okay. Or record yourself. Okay. for you to have your own record. Okay, I cannot speak in Visay because we have a lot of audience like from other from Manila. Okay, but that's about it. But your responses were good. But here's the thing. Okay, one of the things that I have noticed when you're responding to me, okay, when I'm asking about your experience, is you're telling me how they're important. Rather than telling me how they're important, I would want you to use your classroom experience as your response. For example, when I ask you about classroom management, instead of telling me like, oh, classroom management is very important, blah, 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 you tell me, how do you do it in your classroom? Okay. Filipino teachers are the best at classroom management. Okay. How do you do it? How do you manage your kids? But make sure that you tailor it and with how the US, the students in the I mean, with how the classroom management is in the US. Okay. The same thing with data, the same thing with data, technology, classroom management, data, technology. What's the other one? Um, Differentiated instruction. Okay,
Appreciate.
tailor it to your classroom. Okay. Yes. Now, okay, you did amazing. Okay. Do not let your confidence eat you up. It's your confidence that's holding you back. You can actually respond. You know what? There are even teachers that are struggling with their English. Your English is fine. There are a lot of teachers here
Yes.
who are struggling with their English. Your English is not even struggling. You can communicate just
Kadang,
fine.
yes, kadang tong imong mga, kadang, I mean, ang thoughts, naa na diri sa ako, ma'am, sa
Mm.
mind. But
It's at the tip of
then,
your tongue.
yes,
It's at the tip of your
it
tongue, but you
covers
can't
with
say it.
the, yes, with the other thing.
Yeah, so
Lahi na din magawas ako. Then, the words that comes out in my mouth is different na dayo, then late na din ako, ano, is
no,
it
but let me
correct?
tell you, I used to have that kind of problem. I think I was in high school. I used to have that kind of problem. And really, focusing on looking at yourself in the mirror, it really does help. Okay. And
Thank you.
I try to copy lines in the movies and I kind of look crazy when I go to the bathroom, I look at the mirror and I talk to myself. Yeah, do that. That really helps. Now, in my case, when I was practicing for the interview, so I would put or write the questions down on a piece of paper. Okay. I would put them in a jar and then I would draw it because nobody could help me. My husband was not good in speaking in English, so I had to figure it out myself.
Yes.
I had to look at the mirror before back then. Well, I mean, there were already phones, but my phone's camera was not as good. So yeah, just practice. For now, I would put you on the wait list. Make sure that you practice it. Okay,
Thank you.
sure that it's direct to your own classroom experience. Okay? Make your
Thank you for
also
this
yeah,
such experience.
make sure that your introduction is unforgettable because again, like what I said earlier, employers don't hire you because you've mentioned all your qualifications. So there are other applicants who are like that. There are other applicants that have like super amazing qualifications, but what makes you different from them? What makes you stand out? What makes you unforgettable? Okay? Make it unforgettable. Okay? It's practically like when you step in and gate crash an event. Okay, make yourself remarkable and unforgettable. Okay, now, all right, I'll remove you from the spotlight. Thank you very much, Relin. Okay, you did amazing. Now, if you have any questions, I need you to put it down on the chat box. Okay, to put it down on the chat box. Okay, go ahead. Ah. Really, thank you so much. Okay. Ang data po ba na tinutukoy ni Miss Michelle is like assessment? Yes, correct. It's an assessment. So everything here in the US is assessment based. Okay, so we have diagnostics, we have state assessments, we have national assessments. And these assessments are adaptive. That means these assessments, okay, sa Pilipinas, we have assessments that are like just one assessment for all kids. In the US, no, it's not. It's adaptive. It's tailored to what they need. For example, okay, an assessment here in the US is like this. Okay, my assessment is different from Abigail, and Abigail's assessment is different from Russell. And the question, so let's say, for example, we start at the very I'm a fourth grade kid. Okay, they give me fourth grade question. Now I'm not able to answer it because I'm struggling with it. So they will take me back to third grade. If I'm not able to answer third grade questions, they will so it's a computer assessment. So the computer will calculate the type of question that it's going to give me. So so the kids will have different tests. You don't need to craft the test. It's already part of your curriculum. Okay? So that's a big thing. Okay? Data. That's what the data means here. Okay. And one of the things that I want to share with you is, okay, when you're asked about data, make sure that you say, okay, I use data, okay, to form my differentiated my how to say, my differentiated groupings, okay? Because I group my kids based on what they actually need. That's what they need. Okay, so we have here, ano pong difference between elementary and high school students pagdating sa classroom behavior? Well, I used to be a sub and I can say that high school kids are they think that they're adults. Okay, but when it comes to managing them, according to my instructional coach, so she said that it's the same thing. You have to set clear expectations, otherwise they won't care. Okay, but personally, I would say, okay, the bigger they get, the meaner they become. So they have to know that you know what you're doing, because if they don't, they will see, they will try. If they see that you don't, they will make fun of you. They will not not listen to you. Okay, but you have to reach out to your administrator to help you out with behavior in case you have a problem with it. Okay, how did you differentiate instruction? I already answered that question. Can you please give examples of questions we can ask the interviewer when asked, do you have any questions for me? You can just say no. You can just say no. You don't need to impress them. Their time is very precious. Okay, their time is very precious to them. So they want you to answer directly. Okay? And if you don't have any questions, it's fine. Hoping more mock interview para ma-equip pag yun mitanan. Hopefully, I'm probably gonna be busy, so yeah. But I would recommend joining Alisa's. If you know Alisa Guisado, she's one of my teacher friends. Well, we haven't actually met, but we've known each other since we've been chatting, and she's one of the most popular ESL teacher. I mean, no, not J1 teachers. Okay, so join her group. That will help you. Okay, yes po. Nindot kayo yung mga advocacy. Thank you. How do you manage disruptive behavior? Okay. I did have a session with this with an agency. So they hired me for this, for classroom management. Now, okay, you have to assess why it's disruptive. Most of the teachers will tell you, oh, this is a disruptive kid, when they did not set clear, specific expectations. For example, okay, when they come in and they're loud, okay, when they come in and they're loud, okay, the problem here is we get mad. That's how I was my first year. I get mad. I'm like, why are you coming in so loud? But the problem is I did not tell them that as soon as you get in, you have to be at a level 0, meaning you're not talking at all. And because I let them in one time and they were talking, so they think that they could do it over and over again. Now it makes me mad. So before we say that that student is disruptive, it's very important that we craft clear, specific expectations, and it has to be as high as possible. So, for example, in my class, okay, they would tell you, okay, you might think, oh, you have to be super nice in the US. Yes, you do, but that's not totally true. So in my case, we have we have a system called PBIS. Okay. Now this system is like a plus point system. So we give points, okay, to the students, and those points can be used to purchase something from our stores. We have our teacher stores, like prizes, stuff. So what I do is I told them this batch is their third year with me because nobody can handle them because according to the teachers, okay, they're kind of horrible. Okay. But what I do is as soon as they come into my classroom, they're fourth graders, they're practically middle schoolers. Okay. They come into my classroom. If they're allowed, I'm like, okay, this is not my expectations, unfortunately. Let's go back. Let's go outside. And then I talk to them. Hey, why do we have, okay, hey, why did we have to go out? And then they tell me why. Okay, because we were talking loud. Okay, now I need you to fix it because otherwise we'll have to do it over again. So we go to the classroom and I make sure that everybody's quiet. I make sure that everybody's quiet. If there's one kid, even just one, who whispers, like, Miss Theodora said, blah, blah," we have to go out. Like what Miss Laguna said, repetition. And it's very important to do that for the first 2 weeks. Okay. If you do that for the first 2 weeks and a student is still disruptive after the third week, that's when you know that that student is really disruptive. Okay. But it's not justifiable to say, how do you manage a disruptive behavior in the classroom if you didn't try anything, especially setting a very high expectation? Okay. Setting the expectation normally fixes everything. Now, if the behavior still occurs or still is recurrent, you can go ahead and call admin and they can assist you to assess the student. They will sit in your classroom to see how the kid is behaving. Not just that, they will sit in your classroom to check what you're doing to stop and prevent the behavior. So it's very important that you plan first before you reach out because most of the time it's not the students that's the problem. It's because the teacher is not firm in the classroom, which is why the student thinks, oh, it's okay to act like this. I always explain to my kids, okay, for example, one of the problems that we have is I hate it when one kid stands up and just grabs whatever in the classroom. Okay, that's so annoying. So I tell them in my expectations, I have champs. I put them when they need help, they need to raise their hand. If they need tissue, they use, or if they need to go to the bathroom, raise this. If they need tissue, I think it's tissue, like it's two. Okay. If they stand up and disrupt my class, just stand up. I do this. Okay. Okay. Honey, I'm sorry. I need you to take a look at help. What do we have to do? Raise your hand. Okay, so I need you to go back. I'm going to pretend that I did not see you. You have to be very firm. Even one single behavior, okay, it's probably not behavior. It's most probably is how you structure your expectations. Di ba ma-offend ang mga bata if they will group different? Nope, they don't. Okay, they know that they will be grouped, so you don't label them. You don't say, oh, you are a low kid, you have to be here. No, you don't. They just know that they are in a group. So like this is the orange group, this is the blue group, this is the lemon group, this is the strawberry group. You don't say what their level is. Okay, it's very clear, Ma'am Mitch. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for sharing, Ma'am. Nagkaroon ng idea and good and provide materials. How do you plan your lesson? Ooh, how do you plan your lesson? Lesson plan is very simple here. It's practically in the curriculum. It's embedded in the curriculum. Copy paste ka na lang. Yep, copy paste ka na lang. But we do, you do. I do is the part that I teach, whatever, like for example, I'm teaching theme. So in the I do part of my lesson plan, I just write I do. So whatever I will do in the I do part, I will write it down. In the we do part is me and the students are working together, okay, to unravel the concept, okay? And then I will write it down in the we do, and then the you do. And then afterwards, you will just write the standards. That's it. Is she known her in CDO? Okay. Okay. How do you plan your lesson? Thank you, Ms. Michelle. I heard first time US teacher should not smile. Nope, that's not true. Who said that? I'm not sure who said that to you, but that's not true. Okay. So these kids, it says here, I heard first times US teachers should not smile in class for the first 3 months. You will set yourself for failure here if you start like that. You should smile. Okay. You should show that you're welcoming, but you should be firm. Okay? You should not be strict. Here in the US, your title in the Philippines doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. I know a teacher who is a doctor in the Philippines who was very alta when he came here. Okay, you know what happened to him? The high schoolers threw eggs on his car. Binutas ang gulong because they don't like him. You have to be likable and at the same time firm. You have to explain to them why you have to be firm. Okay. One thing that I tell my kids is that, hey, I do understand that you might not feel okay with these rules, but these rules are pretty similar with the law. Okay. If you break it, okay, if I don't set these rules in the classroom, it's practically me letting you break the rule. And right here at school, we are teaching you to be a good citizen. Okay, so it's a practice at real life. Now, if I let you, for example, if I let you talk, okay, what is going to happen? I need you to think. Okay, and then they respond to me by saying, oh, everybody's going to talk. Okay, like say, for example, if Brandon is talking and I don't say anything to him, okay, what is going to happen? And then all the other kids will say, oh, I will think that it's okay to talk. It's like a domino effect. So do not let anything slide. If you do, you will have a problem here. But it's normal to struggle in your first year. One thing that helped me, I reached out to my principal and I reached out to my assistant principal. I told her, "Hey, can you observe me in my class? I really want help." So if they see that you're willing, you can survive your 5 years. If they see that you're willing, if they see that you're willing to be taught, if they see that you're willing to change, plus, okay, you use all the feedback right away. Okay, you will survive your 5 years here. Okay, it is very important to reinforce classroom management for me, also include them in setting the standards, rules. They feel like hand signals, correct. Hand signals, I do, we do, you do, explicit teaching here in the Philippines. That's great. Okay. So that concludes. Wow, we spent 2 hours and 30 minutes. Okay, thank you so much. So for this opportunity. Okay, let me take a picture. Mag-take that picture. Uy, kadali lang. Hold on. Sorry, I can't accommodate Tagalog. Okay, we'll have an interview scheduled today at 7 a.m. You got this. Just be natural. Make sure that your introduction is unforgettable. You wear formal attire. Make sure that your camera is 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 straight to your face. If you ever get nervous, don't look at the interviewer, look at the camera. Okay? And do not just formulate words in your brain. They're not hiring you because you're good in English. They're hiring you because you're a good teacher. Okay? So your English doesn't matter. As long as you're able to communicate, you're good. Okay? Answer straight to the point. I have this strategy called A strategy. Answer the question directly. Okay? C is provide concrete classroom experience. Okay? And E is elaborate, explain it. Okay, you got this. Okay. Very timely pala ang mag-interview with All right. So, okay, let me take a picture of